Hi, I'm George Eads, and I play Nick Stokes on the hit series CSI on CBS.
For 2 years, George Eads flew 2,000 miles between Atlanta and Los Angeles every week. He was missing his daughter's childhood for MacGyver. The guilt was eating him alive. But when he begged CBS for help, they said no. Then came that explosive day in October 2018. He walked off set mid-scene and never looked back the same way. His co-star, Lucas Till, had to stop production multiple times just to calm him down. What really happened that day? And why did a father choose to destroy his career instead of missing one more bedtime story? George Eads was born on March 1, 1967, in Fort Worth, Texas. His father, Arthur Coleman Eads, worked as a district attorney. His mother, Vivian Baker, was a school superintendent. From the start, George was surrounded by serious people doing serious things. His parents separated early in his life, but their influence stayed with him. He grew up hearing stories from courtrooms and classrooms. Even as a small child, he soaked up everything. He learned what it meant to be responsible, how to handle pressure, and why structure mattered. These early lessons gave him the calm and steady energy that later helped him in Hollywood, where everything moves fast and nothing is guaranteed. After the divorce, George moved to Belton, Texas. The town was small, with a population just over 13,000. His mother remarried, and George was raised by her and his stepfather, Dr. Dudley Baker, a gynecologist. It was a different life from Fort Worth, quieter, slower, more personal. His home was filled with books, rules, and conversations about education and health. Both his mother and stepfather worked in roles that demanded intellect and care. That influence shaped George's curiosity and made him thoughtful beyond his years. He didn't just go through childhood, he paid attention, and it showed in how he connected with people. Belton also gave him his first stage. He joined theater. He played football. The spotlight felt natural. At Belton High School, George didn't just blend in. He stood out, not just for being good at football, but for the way he carried himself. He had a smile that made people listen and a voice that held their attention. He graduated in 1985, and his classmates remembered him as someone who could own a room. He wasn't trying to be a star. He just had that quality people noticed, the kind that couldn't be taught. He went on to Texas Tech University in Lubbock, where he earned a marketing degree in 1989. There were more than 3,000 students in his graduating class, and George fit right in. He wasn't chasing fame yet. He was focused on practical things. His classes were about strategy, persuasion, and getting people to say yes. As a member of Phi Delta Theta, he learned how to build relationships and work a crowd. These weren't just college memories. They were skills that would serve him years later in casting rooms and contract negotiations. At the time, he had no idea he'd end up on TV, but every step was preparing him. After graduation, George didn't head to a film set. He started selling copy machines. Later, he switched to selling first aid safety gear for Cintas. It was boring work. It paid the bills, but it didn't feed his spirit. One day, stuck in his car between sales calls, he broke down and cried. He hated the life he was living. That moment pushed him to make a change. He borrowed his stepfather's old pickup truck. The headlights didn't work, so he could only drive during the day. But that didn't stop him. He packed what he could and headed west to Los Angeles. It was more than a move. It was a full leap of faith. He had no job waiting, barely any money, and no plan. Just a feeling that something better was out there. Arriving in Los Angeles didn't bring instant success. George found himself doing whatever it took to stay afloat. He worked as a gym attendant, just so he could exercise for free. He took a job in the kitchen at Sony Studios, cooking for crews and actors while dreaming of being one of them. Most days were filled with auditions that went nowhere. Some casting directors wouldn't even look up. Others dismissed him with a few words. Even getting an agent was a battle. Rejections came daily. Some were cruel. Most were silent. Every month brought the same questions. Should he give up? Could he afford to keep trying? But George didn't quit. He learned how to handle rejection, how to keep showing up when it would be easier to disappear. His first big break came with the TV show Savannah in 1996. It aired on the WB and was their very first one-hour drama. George was cast as Travis Peterson, a good-looking but shady character who didn't last long. But he made such a strong impression that the producers brought him back as Travis's twin brother, Nick Corelli. Playing two different people on the same show wasn't easy, but George pulled it off. His screen time doubled, and his range as an actor started to shine. The show was a hit, and George became one of the network's most talked-about new faces. But just as quickly as the fame came, it disappeared. In February 1997, less than 2 years after it premiered, the network canceled the show. One moment he was riding high. The next, he was unemployed, standing in long lines at auditions again, waiting to be seen. The industry moved on fast. No one wanted a soap actor anymore. The spotlight had already turned to newer, younger faces. George found himself back at the bottom, chasing small jobs just to survive. He took anything that paid, even if it was just enough to buy groceries or cover rent. The excitement of national success was replaced by fear. He didn't want to be remembered as that guy from one season. He once said, "With 2 canceled shows behind me, you learn not to be too excited, because you don't want to be disappointed." That fear pushed him harder, but it also hurt. He was drifting through Hollywood again, trying to hold on. Even before his big break, George had already seen the dark side of this business. In 1995, he had a tiny part on Strange Luck, playing J.R. Dean. It was so small that it brought him more rejection than recognition. The next year, he starred in a TV movie called The Ultimate Lie, a low-budget thriller that aired on USA Network. He wasn't picky. These roles weren't glamorous, but they helped him survive. At that time, most TV movies paid just a few $1,000s. There were no royalties, no promise of more work. He wasn't building a resume. He was trying to keep the lights on. Some actors give up after years like that. The stress, the poverty, the silence between jobs, it breaks people. But George kept going. He worked with whoever would hire him, whether it was alongside a rising star or as a nameless guest. That stubbornness became his armor. In 1997, something finally seemed to shift. George landed a guest spot on ER, playing Greg Powell, a paramedic with a romantic interest in Nurse Hathaway. He appeared in 3 episodes. ER was huge at the time. Nearly 30 million people watched each week. It was the kind of exposure most actors dreamed of, but it came with a risk. He could get stuck playing paramedics forever. That's what producers started offering him after that role. Emergency responders, medical techs, one-dimensional characters. He had taken a big swing by leaving Texas and giving Hollywood everything he had. But now he was in danger of getting boxed into roles that didn't reflect his talent. It was another test of whether he could hang on long enough to be seen as something more. In 2000, George landed a lead role in Grapevine, a sitcom reboot on CBS. He played Thumper Klein, a bartender in Miami who gave advice on love. But the series crashed almost immediately. It was canceled after only 5 episodes. Most shows get at least 13 before the network pulls the plug. This was worse. It was like the door had slammed shut before he could even walk through it. For someone already scarred by past rejections, this one hurt deeply. Being let go that quickly made producers nervous. It made George question everything. The show just vanished, and with it, his confidence. He was now at a point where even getting a second chance seemed impossible. His struggles weren't just about acting, they were about survival. After graduating from Texas Tech in 1989, George took jobs selling copy machines and working in gyms. At night, he catered at Sony Studios, hoping to catch a glimpse of someone who might help him. In 1993, he hit a low point. He was broke, he was tired, he was almost ready to quit. Even after his brief success on Savannah, there was no safety. The show was canceled, The work was drying up. By 1999 and 2000, he was barely hanging on. He was considering giving up acting and going back to sales. No one would have guessed that this man, sitting on the edge of quitting, would soon become a star of one of the biggest shows in TV history. In 1997, he accepted another TV movie just to keep going. It was called Crowned and Dangerous, a dark comedy starring Yasmin Bleeth. George played Riley Baxter, a character caught in a beauty pageant murder case. It aired on ABC in September. It didn't change his life. The ratings were okay. The reviews were quiet. But it gave him another month, maybe another two. These movies didn't pay much. They were forgotten almost as fast as they aired, but they kept him afloat. Without them, he might have packed up and gone home. Looking back, it's clear how close he came to becoming just another name in the credits that no one remembers. Then, out of nowhere, he got the call that changed everything. A casting director wanted him to audition for a new CBS show. It was a procedural drama about crime scene investigators. At the time, no one thought it would be a hit. George was wary. He had been burned before. Still, he went in. The role was Nick Stokes, a forensic scientist. For once, it wasn't a paramedic or a sidekick. It was a real character, a lead. He didn't get his hopes up. He drove to the audition in a borrowed truck. He was still broke, still unsure. But something clicked in that room. His Texas charm, his intensity, his hunger, it all came through. Producer Danny Cannon and CBS president Les Moonves saw it. They offered him the part, and that phone call changed his life. In 2000, CSI Crime Scene Investigation launched. George was now Nick Stokes, part of a new kind of crime show. The chemistry on set was magic. William Peterson played Gil Grissom. Marg Helgenberger was Catherine Willows. Gary Dorden was Warwick Brown. Together, they felt like a real team. They laughed, they argued, they respected each other. Their scenes didn't feel scripted. They felt real. George brought warmth and grit. He wasn't flashy. He was steady. Viewers loved him. Even guest stars noticed the cast's bond. That energy helped CSI grow into something massive. Between 2000 and 2015, George appeared in 335 episodes. The show spun off into other cities and other series. But the original cast, especially George, defined what made it special. When CSI premiered in October 2000, it quickly became a hit. By the end of the season, it was the most watched new drama. Some episodes drew more than 26 million viewers. George, who used to work in gyms and deliver catering trays, was suddenly on billboards. TV Guide named him one of the sexiest male actors in 2009. He couldn't walk down the street without being recognized. He had been so close to quitting, and now he was a star. He started getting offers, raises, and attention, but even then, he stayed cautious. "You keep working hard so you're ready when your moment comes," he said. CSI didn't just change George's life, it changed the world's view of forensic science. The CSI effect became real. Juries began expecting DNA and high-tech evidence in trials. Colleges saw a rise in forensic science enrollments. The show made science look exciting, even heroic. George's character helped make that shift. Nick Stokes was human, smart, and driven. People related to him. His face became the symbol of a new way of thinking about crime and evidence. Real police departments upgraded tools. Policies changed. And much of that momentum started with what viewers saw each week on CSI. In the summer of 2004, George Eads and his co-star Jorge Fox were making around $100,000 per episode on CSI. The show was the most watched scripted program in America, drawing nearly 27 million viewers each week. That kind of success gave both actors the confidence to ask for more. CBS offered them a raise to $120,000 and a one-year contract extension. But Eads and Fox wanted a bigger deal. They thought they could pull off what the cast of Everybody Loves Raymond had done the year before: demand more and win. So they tried something risky. They didn't show up for the first day of filming. That decision put over $6 million each in contract value at stake. It was a bold move, but it didn't go the way they hoped. CBS responded by firing both of them. Yoria Fox was fired first, after missing a deadline to confirm she'd return. Eads was fired the next day for not showing up to his 6:30 a.m. call time. The network didn't try to hide what it was doing. Insiders leaked to the press that this wasn't just about two actors, it was about setting an example. CBS was tired of salary standoffs, and Les Moonves, the network's chief, wanted to make that clear. The message was simple: no one is above the contract. But for Eads and Fox, their power play now looked like a career-ending mistake. Soon after the news broke, Eads gave a public explanation that surprised a lot of people. He said it was all a misunderstanding. According to him, he had just overslept. He said he woke up hours late and panicked. He compared it to a quarterback missing the first day of practice. He expected punishment, not to be fired. But many in the industry didn't buy the story. People close to the production claimed both actors were using absence as a pressure tactic. Les Moonves added fuel by saying their lawyers had made veiled threats before the no-show. Eads apologized repeatedly. He said sorry in every way he could, but the damage had been done. The network had made its point, and many people still weren't sure which version of the story was true. Behind the scenes, Eads tried to make things right. He reportedly tried to reach Les Moonves directly, hoping for a personal meeting. But that didn't happen. Moonves stayed firm. He wanted to send a message, not just to Eads and Fox, but to every actor thinking about holding out. Scripts were being rewritten. Casting calls went out for new characters. Eads and Fox were on the outside, hoping to get back in. Then, in a twist almost no one saw coming, they were both rehired. Less than a week after being fired, they were back. But it came at a cost. The salary bump they had fought for was gone. They returned at their original rate of $100,000 per episode. The quick firing and rehire embarrassed them, but it also set a clear line in the industry. Even stars on the biggest show couldn't bend the rules. From 2004 to 2010, CSI was at its peak, and so was George Eads. He had gone from a solid actor to a top name in television. The show brought in over 20 million viewers each week. It won major awards, including international ones. By the late 2000s, Eads was making up to $275,000 per episode. That put him among the highest-paid actors on TV. Most of his reported $13 million net worth came from CSI, but even during these golden years, there were cracks. Eads had been fired once before, and the tension behind the scenes would return later in his career. While CSI was at its height, Eads took on a big side project. He starred as Evel Knievel in a 2004 biopic for TNT. It aired in late July and told the story of Knievel's rise and dangerous stunts. The movie used real crash footage mixed with dramatizations. It showed the physical risks and emotional damage of Knievel's career. This was Eads' first big role outside CSI. He took a chance playing a real person with a troubled legacy. Reviews were mixed, but the project drew attention. People were curious to see Eads in something so different. It was a career move full of ambition and risk. In 2009, Eads was named one of TV Guide's sexiest male actors. That same year, he also ranked number 39 on Buddy TV's list of 100 sexiest men on television. He had become a TV star, a sex symbol, and a household name. But it wasn't just his looks that fans admired. He often spoke about his personal life with honesty. He talked about his engagement to Monica Casey and how grateful he was to have her in his life. He joked about her being his best bud and appreciated how she never tried to change him. This mix of fame and humility made him even more popular. But the pressure to keep up that image would grow harder over time. As his fame grew, so did whispers about his behavior off-camera. Some insiders started calling him difficult. His perfectionism caused friction, especially with the show's writers. In 2013, He had a major fight with a pregnant writer over the direction of his character. Things got so heated that CBS removed him from several episodes, including a special 300th installment. Eads reportedly threatened to quit. The network called it a leave of absence, but to the public, it looked like another example of his growing temper behind the scenes. Eads later admitted the job took a toll on him. He said the violent subject matter gave him nightmares. Even as he earned huge paychecks, he was struggling. He wanted his character to be realistic and true to the crime scenes they portrayed, but that same passion often clashed with the show's producers. The drama behind the scenes started to match the drama on screen. In 2004, Eads met actress and producer Monica Casey. The meeting happened while filming the Evel Knievel movie. He broke his thumb, and she helped him recover. That moment sparked something. Their relationship grew quietly over the next 7 years. Eads often called Monica his closest friend. He said she never nagged him and always let him be himself. Fans loved their story. It was simple, sweet, and rare for Hollywood. In November 2009, Eads proposed to Monica. He made the announcement during a late-night TV appearance. He said she had helped him through a tough back surgery and called her his champion. They got married on June 17, 2011. The ceremony was small and private. No red carpet, no press, just a quiet moment between two people who had been through a lot together. Their marriage looked perfect from the outside. Then, in August 2014, everything changed. Their daughter, Dylan, was born. Eads became a father, and it changed him deeply. He started posting photos in Halloween costumes and spoke about the joy of parenting. Some reports even said he left the show MacGyver to spend more time with his daughter. He became more private. Friends said he found a new purpose in life, but the joy didn't last. Just a year later, in October 2015, Eads filed for divorce. The papers cited irreconcilable differences. The split shocked fans. After more than a decade together, the couple seemed solid, but now they were on opposite sides of a courtroom. Eads said they had a prenup. Monica asked for spousal support and custody of Dylan. Both parents wanted different things. What started as a quiet love story had become a very public fight. The custody battle got ugly. Eads asked for joint legal and physical custody. Monica wanted sole custody and support. There were disputes over the prenup. Eads claimed it existed. Monica's legal team didn't mention it. The fight lasted more than a year. Gossip sites covered every detail. Family lawyers weighed in. Fans watched closely. Eventually, they reached a deal. Reports said they agreed to joint custody, but the legal fight left deep wounds. In August 2013, George Eads got into a heated argument with a CSI writer who was 8 months pregnant. He was upset about the direction of his character, Nick Stokes, and didn't hold back. It wasn't about money, it was about creative choices. But the fact that he clashed so aggressively with a pregnant woman made the whole thing explode. The press ran with it. Headlines highlighted the pregnancy over everything else. What could have been a private disagreement turned into a public mess. People saw it not just as a creative dispute, but as a power imbalance. The damage was immediate and deep. Eads' image took a serious hit. From that moment, things would never be the same. Showrunner Carol Mendelsohn called an emergency meeting. She tried to calm things down and push Eads toward an apology, but instead of making peace, Eads said he would rather quit than say sorry. This wasn't the first time he clashed with producers, but this time it felt different. The room was tense. Eads stood his ground. He wanted things his way. The meeting shook everyone. It wasn't just about one argument. It became a test of power and responsibility in a high-pressure show. And Eads failed that test. What happened next was no surprise. CBS put him on a leave of absence. They didn't call it a suspension, but that's what it felt like. Officially, it was a break. Privately, people argued over whether it was punishment or protection. Eads only appeared in the first 3 episodes of season 14. The show wrote his absence into the story by saying his character went to Quantico for training. But the biggest blow came when he missed episode 300, a major milestone for the series. The fallout was clear. Even stars weren't safe if they crossed the line. The media couldn't let it go. They kept repeating the same point. A male star had gone after a pregnant colleague. That image stuck. People who didn't even watch CSI heard about it. It wasn't just about Eads' character anymore. It was about who he was off-screen. Reporters and fans alike started to question everything. Could they still root for him? Could the network still trust him? In an industry that lives on image, Eads' reputation took a hit that never fully healed. In 2016, CBS gave Eads another chance. They cast him as Jack Dalton in the reboot of MacGyver. It was a risky move. Everyone remembered the CSI drama, and there had been earlier tensions in 2004 too, when Eads briefly lost his job over a salary dispute. But CBS saw potential. They needed someone with charm and presence, and Eads still had both. The show premiered in September and pulled in big numbers. Viewers were curious. Could Eads make a comeback? For a while, it looked like he could. Behind the scenes, though, the show came with a cost. MacGyver filmed in Atlanta. Eads' daughter, Dylan, lived in Los Angeles. That distance, over 2,000 miles, wore him down. He spoke openly about the pain it caused. Being away from her left him drained. On set, people saw the toll. He used his emotions to fuel dramatic scenes. But off-camera, he struggled. He asked producers for time in LA or a release from his contract. The distance wasn't just a problem, it was becoming a crisis. Lucas Till, his co-star, noticed. The bond between them went beyond scripts. When Eads hit emotional walls, Till stepped in. More than once, he paused production so Eads could breathe. That's not something actors do lightly. Time is money in TV. Every delay costs thousands. But Till didn't care. He wanted to help. The crew saw it. They talked about it. Those moments weren't written into the show, but they gave weight to what happened on screen. It made everything feel real. Then came October 2018. Something happened. No one says exactly what, but it was big enough for Eads to storm off set while filming was still underway. He left with hours of work left that day. It was loud. It was messy. People called it a sticky situation. Insiders blamed stress, behavior issues, and the same struggle over work-life balance. Eads returned for a few more episodes, but the writing was on the wall. Whatever happened that day pushed everything past the breaking point. Soon after, Eads made it official. He asked to leave the show. He told the producers and CBS that he needed to be with his daughter. He said he was missing moments he could never get back. The network listened. They agreed to let him go. His final episode aired in February 2019. It was called Father plus Bride plus Betrayal. The goodbye was emotional. Eads walked away from a high-paying role at the height of the show's success. That almost never happens, but he chose fatherhood over fame. When that episode aired on February 1st, 2019, it marked the end of something big. Eads had spent almost 20 years on network TV. He made millions, he built a name, and he gave it up to be with his daughter. His departure wasn't just about one argument or one bad day, it was about priorities. And in the end, he made a choice that few actors make. But CBS wasn't finished. In January 2021, the show killed off his character. It happened off-screen. The funeral scene was quiet, but final. Fans never saw a body. That led to some speculation, but the message was clear. Jack Dalton was gone. The show even tied his death to an old villain plot. They didn't leave any room for a return. Viewers were heartbroken. Some said the show lost its heart. Without Eads, it wasn't the same. And the producers knew it. After that, Eads appeared in one last role. In 2019, he played Colonel Stephen in a Korean War film called The Battle of Jangsari. The movie told the true story of teenage soldiers sent on a dangerous mission. It was gritty, emotional, and very different from anything Eads had done before. He stood out as one of the few American actors in the film. Megan Fox played a reporter, but it was Eads who brought quiet strength to the screen. Since then, he hasn't acted again.